All right, what's up? I am so excited to talk to you about the Garmin Vivosmart 5 because if you know and you follow my channel, I've talked a lot about the Vivosmart 4. And I was a huge fan. I wore this thing for years until I recently upgraded to the Garmin Venu. So I've got all of them here. I'm going to talk to you about a comparison and breakdown of all these things and what features you get and what you don't and what situations I think one's going to work for you better than the others. All right, the Garmin Vivosmart 5. I'm blown away. Let's talk about why. All right, guys, welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, which are health bands. And the reason being is that it is the business owner's best friend. Every time I'm, pushing hard, I'm always looking at my metrics, always looking at my biometric tools to see where am I at? What's going on? Do I have the ability to push more today? Do I need to dial it back? Otherwise, it's just subjective, and you find yourself burning out. And I'm seeing that a lot with business owners and students and clients that I work with. I talked a lot about the Garmin Vivosmart 4, and I'll link the video here because it was one, I feel like a lot of people bought a 4 because I talked about it, because of that video. And you can see why. You can look at the comments. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. It's really helping me make a decision. But there were some complaints about the product itself. And I can resonate with what they were saying. And I agree to a large extent. But let's first talk about this product specifically. In terms of the overall function of the device, it's pretty typical of a Garmin product of this price point. Something like the Phoenix is, you're getting the same metrics. There's just more opportunities to collect more robust and ample data. That's pretty much the only difference with a lot of the Garmin products. It's not a fitness band, it's a health band. And it's really going to help give you the insights that you need, like stress levels, like your body battery. And I've talked a lot about body battery. I think this is the winning feature with Garmin, and it's why I've stuck with Garmin as long as I have. Specifically for high performers, executives, business owners, obviously that's who I cater to. The body battery feature alone is worth the price of admission, because you wake up some days and sure, you might have felt subjectively like you slept well or what have you, but it's going to tell you, and I found it to be extremely accurate. So if I realize my body battery, if I'm only at 40, right, I know that I'm not pushing hard that day. It's just not going to happen, right? And so that's a huge feature, and that's included in the Vivosmart 5. Heart rate, it does give you your steps, which is important, right? Movement is important. As a business owner, you need to get up and moving. Another winning feature I love about Garmin that's included with the 5 is it'll nudge you when you've been sitting too long. So if you're sitting down at a desk like I'm doing right now, this is where I spend 90% of my waking hours. It's important to get up and get moving around, but sometimes you forget. And so these will buzz and nudge you, hey, it's time, right? There's some other things it'll do, like it'll notify you if you have your notifications on with your phone. It'll sync up, like, hey, you got new text messages from so on and so forth, or you got a phone call from somebody coming through. It will give you those functions. You can't play like music on or some of the things you can do with like an Apple Watch and stuff like that. So it's a very basic health band, but I think a great opportunity for you to be tracking your health data and getting you the things that you need so that you're operating at your best. And that when you're feeling kind of sluggish, okay, what's going on? Because I can find and identify reasons why much faster. It does give you basic sleep metrics too, which are awesome, all included in the Garmin Connect app. Now let's talk about some comparisons, because I'll show you kind of what this thing looks like. It's pretty much what a lot of the Garmin's are, but let's talk about comparisons. Check out how much thicker this thing is from the 4. Now, one of the big things that I heard as a complaint about the 4 was it breaks, the band rips off, and I have had a couple of those happen myself. It just happens over time, and it's going to last you about a year and a half, maybe 2 years at most, before this thing breaks. It just feels a little flimsy. It just doesn't really feel like a sturdy product. They have vastly improved that. This thing, I don't think it's possible to break this thing. I really don't. So that's something that's awesome. Another thing is about the 4 that I felt was really amiss was, let's say your band breaks. Well, guess what? You need a new watch. You can't just replace the band. That's kind of stupid. So if you look at the 5, look what I can do. I can pop this off. I can literally take the sensor off, get a new band, and I'm good to go. So not only is the band vastly improved, but you've got the ability to mix and match or replace, or if you want to get a different color or whatever the case may be, you can do that. I always talk about this with these bands, with these health bands or watches. You need to have the ability to exchange or to swap out what color you're wearing, because sometimes you're wearing a color that if you even remotely care about fashion, it just doesn't look good with certain things, right? Like there's certain colors that just don't look good together. So I bought the Venu in gray because I knew gray is kind of neutral and it goes with a lot of things. But the ideal of the ideal is that you can easily swap it out, like just pop it out. Now, I know where they got this. They got this from BioStrap. 100% they got this from BioStrap, which is another product that I recommend and one that I own as well. But that's exactly how the BioStrap works, so I know that's where they got it from. But kudos to them for listening to their audience and knowing this was a big problem. Another thing that was a big issue people cited, and you'll see here, is look at the difference in the screen sizes here. A lot of people, including my own father, I got him this as a gift of the 4. And he's like, I just don't like it because it's so small. So there's a lot of people that are kind of in the middle ground territory here. They don't want to watch because they like to wear traditional watches. So they don't want to wear 2 watches. They don't want to wear a Venu on one arm and then another watch. They're like they're a watch dealer, hustling on the side of the street or something. Like, it just looks stupid. I'm in that camp. I like bands. I like health bands. I like having a traditional watch and health bands. The problem is that this was too much of a band where you really needed the app to get your data because this screen was so small. So a lot of people had a tough time like reading it, and you pull stuff up and it's got to kind of like move over before you can read the full thing, the full context of it. Now with the 5, you can have charts on here. It's just a bigger watch face, right? It's a bigger face to this band where you can see things more readily without having to need the app. So that's a huge upgrade that I feel like they did a great job with. The last thing that I want to talk about that I think is a huge upgrade over the 4, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how it compares to the Venu, is they added a button. So there was a touch button. I don't know what you call that, but there was a button on the screen of the 4, and I'll kind of show it here. You could tap on it, but it wasn't like an analog button. And a lot of people cited when they were running or what have you, when they got wet or sweaty or swimming, the touchscreen really doesn't work that well. So having an actual button on here, I think kind of accommodates a lot of that. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are finding it, that they're still desiring more, like something like a Venu where there actually are multiple buttons in addition to the touchscreen. But I think this is a fair compromise. Again, if you want a band because you don't want to wear a health watch, but you rather prefer a band, I think this is a fair compromise. So kudos to them on the 5. Honestly, I'm really conflicted now because, again, I love bands more than watches, and I just got my Venu. So let's talk about how it compares to the Venu. In terms of overall what you're getting, there's not a lot of difference. Something that I talked about in my Venu video, I'll include that as well, is it does feel like an Apple Watch, but without some of the fancy bells and whistles that make it like however expensive they are. What are they, $500 or $700 or something ridiculous? This is $200. So it strips away some of that. It's more of just a health watch. I wouldn't say fitness. I'd say more health tracking. But it has some cool things, like especially on the watch face, I can quickly just glance at it and see how many steps I've gotten, what my body battery is, how much, what time it is, the date, so on and so forth. And all those things are included on the band here with the Vivosmart 5, but it's just not as clean. This is a cool looking watch. When I scroll down, there are colors to it. It's not just black and white. There's a lot of things that I can track that they don't have to wait for it to scroll over. I can just see it right here on the watch face. So that's really beneficial. Cool things too, as like your tracking data, there's like little cursors that go around and kind of show you how far you are. I don't know. It's more visually appealing. This with my steps and the dates and stuff like that, I can just scroll over and look at things. And I don't know. It just feels more expensive. It feels like there's more to it. It feels more in depth, I guess is the best way to say it. But overall, it's the same data. It's just really the difference is the presentation of the data with the Venu. That's really the only difference. And then the question comes down to what I mentioned before is, do you want a watch or do you want a band? Now, I will say this, and this is something that has been a little bit of a challenge for me, and I'll see if I can show it somewhat here. I'm scratching the living hell out of this Venu. There are, and I should have done this, there are little covers you can buy, like you buy for your iPhone or something, that you can put over the Venu, and that protects it. I don't know if they make these for the Vivosmart 5. That'd be something to look into if you're considering this, because this will get scratched as well. As you can see on my 4, I'll show this as well. My 4 got really scratched up. Like, I do everything with it on because it's a health band. It's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to wear it everywhere. So that's that. In terms of comfort, will be the last thing that I talk about. Comfort-wise, I feel like I would prefer the band. I feel like I noticed with the watch, I don't like wearing a watch to bed. I don't like wearing a watch in the shower. I wear little bracelets, and I've got this little, I don't even know if this thing works. It's supposed to help you with like balance and stuff like that. It's supposed to attract ionic energy to your, whatever. It's probably BS, but I wear it anyways. Totally placebo, right? But this, I can just slap this on, and it just kind of goes with my ensemble of different things I wear on my wrist, right? So it doesn't maybe feel like I always have a watch on. Sometimes when I'm sleeping with this, it just kind of, I don't know. I don't notice it, but I just feel like sometimes it just, I do notice it. And when I do notice it, it's just kind of like, ugh, and I want to take it off and, kind of be free, like liberate myself. Kind of when you like take your suit off at the end of the day, you're like, thank God I can take this suit off. Sometimes it feels like that. The bands, I didn't notice that as much, right? So I think that's something that I would definitely take into consideration. And then the last thing I would say, maybe as an improvement over the 4, but also in comparison to the Venu here, the battery is much improved. In fact, I ran this just to see. I've had this for like 2 weeks now. I ran this for almost 2 weeks on one charge. Now, keep in mind, this was not tracking data. When it's tracking data and pulling stuff and what have you, you're going to drain the battery faster. But just sitting, it ran for almost 2 straight weeks. That's really good for a band. The watch, even if I'm wearing the watch, it lasts about a week. Whereas maybe in some of these health bands, they last like maybe 24 hours, you need a new charge. I don't have time for that. I need one thing to charge every single day, and that's my phone. Everything else is just going to be an extra hassle that I don't want to have to deal with. So big improvement over the 4, and probably comparative to the Venu, which I think is, again, for a band, that is absolutely tremendous. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you're planning on trying out the 5, I think it's well worth the price. I think it's a little bit more expensive than the 4 was, but right within that same ballpark where the Venu and the 4 and the 5 are all kind of in that same price point, $100, $150, $200 range. But let me know what you guys think. Also, from here, there are 3 things you can do as next steps to begin the process of potentially working with me. Number 1 is our ultimate startup checklist. You can download this. It's 100% free. It's a PDF. It's everything you should be doing that I think you should be doing to start a business, but not just all the things, but the order in which you should be doing them. Number 2 is my what type of business should you start quiz. So a lot of people know what kind of industry they want to be in, but they need to know kind of the business model that works best for them, their personality, and all their unique skills. That's going to help you figure out exactly what that looks like and get you off on the right foot. And then last is my how to market and sell your business online. A lot of people know there's big opportunities in the digital space, whether they have an offline or an online business, to sell their company, to sell their product or service or whatever it is that they offer. This is going to tell you how to do it. It's a 35-minute class, 100% free. All these resources are 100% free for you to take advantage of, and those links are included in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.